The Forbes 30 Under 30 article dropped on a Wednesday morning. Tech entrepreneur Rachel Morrison, 29, disrupts fintech industry with AI-powered investment platform. Company valued at $340 million. The article included a photo of me in my corner office, another of our headquarters, and a sidebar listing my achievements. Youngest female CEO in fintech, patent holder for 3 algorithms, an early Bitcoin investor who turned $50,000 into $8 million. My phone started ringing at 7:47 a.m. First my brother, Rachel, is this article real? Then my sister, why didn't you tell us you were rich? Then, at 8:03 a.m., my father, family meeting, tonight. 6 p.m. sharp. We need to discuss some things. I stared at that last message for a long time. 2 years. That's how long it had been since my wedding, the one my parents refused to attend because I was marrying beneath our station. But 16 minutes after Forbes published my net worth, suddenly there were things to discuss. Let me take you back. I'm Rachel Morrison, and I grew up in the kind of family that valued appearances over everything. My father was a corporate lawyer at a prestigious firm. My mother sat on charity boards and organized galas. We lived in a mansion in the best neighborhood, drove luxury cars, and maintained an image of success. The problem? Most of it was smoke and mirrors. My parents were drowning in debt, mortgages, car loans, credit cards maxed out just to maintain their lifestyle. But nobody knew because the Morrisons never showed weakness. When I graduated from MIT with a computer science degree, they were disappointed I didn't go to Harvard Law. When I started working in tech instead of joining Dad's firm, they called it wasting my potential. When I began developing my own software, they said I was playing with computers instead of building a real career. And when I got engaged to Marcus, a high school teacher with a master's degree and a heart of gold, they lost it completely. A teacher? My mother had said, her voice dripping with disdain. Rachel, we raised you for better than this. Marcus is brilliant, kind, and he loves me. He makes $52,000 a year. My father interrupted. That's not a life. That's poverty with a college degree. We're not poor. We're happy. You're settling, and we won't support it. My father's voice was final. If you insist on marrying this man, don't expect us at the wedding. I thought he was bluffing. I sent invitations anyway. My parents RSVP'd, declined. So did my brother James and my sister Catherine, following Mom and Dad's lead as always. The wedding was beautiful anyway. A small ceremony in a garden, 50 friends, and Marcus's wonderful family. His mother walked me down the aisle. I cried, but not from joy alone. My family sent nothing. No card, no call, no acknowledgement that I'd gotten married. For 2 years, I'd reached out occasionally. Birthday texts that went unanswered. Holiday invitations ignored. I finally stopped trying 6 months ago. Until today. Until Forbes made my success impossible to ignore. You're not actually going, are you? Marcus asked, reading the text over my shoulder. Oh, I'm going, I said, making a phone call. But not alone. Rachel, what are you planning? I smiled at my husband. Remember when you asked if my investment portfolio included any real estate? Yeah. I wasn't entirely honest about what I purchased. I put the phone to my ear. David, it's Rachel Morrison. I need you and 2 associates at an address tonight. 6 p.m. Yes, security detail. I'll explain everything. I spent the day preparing, phone calls to my lawyer, my accountant, and my real estate manager. I printed documents, organized files, and got dressed in my best power suit, the Armani one that cost more than my parents spent on my entire childhood wardrobe. Marcus watched me with concern and curiosity. Are you going to tell me what's happening? Do you remember 18 months ago when that foreclosure investment opportunity came up? The one I said I passed on? Yeah. I didn't pass on it. I bought the property through my LLC. For $1.3 million, I acquired a mortgage that was 3 months from foreclosure. The property is worth about $2 million, but the owners were desperate. Marcus's eyes widened. Rachel, whose mortgage? I showed him the property address. That's your parents' house. Was their house? Technically, they've been my tenants for 18 months. They just don't know it because all the paperwork went through Davidson Holdings LLC, and they never bothered to check who bought their loan. Oh my God. They've been paying me $4,800 a month in rent, which doesn't even cover the mortgage interest, by the way. But I've been letting it slide because I didn't want to think about it. I kept hoping they'd reach out, that they'd apologize, that they care about me for reasons other than money. And now they've proven they only care because of Forbes. So we're going to have a conversation about family and consequences, and what happens when you treat people as disposable. I arrived at my parents' house at 6:07 p.m. in a chauffeured Tesla, with 3 security guards in suits. My brother's BMW was in the driveway. So was my sister's Mercedes. The whole family assembled for the emergency meeting. My mother opened the door, her smile bright and fake. "Rachel, you look, oh my, are those bodyguards?" "Security detail. Standard practice for someone with my net worth." "May we come in?" She stepped aside, flustered. The security team stayed by the entrance while I walked into the living room where my family waited. My father stood immediately. "Rachel, thank you for coming. We saw the Forbes article." 17 minutes after it published, I interrupted. "That's how long it took for you to text me. 2 years of silence, then 17 minutes. We've been busy." "For 2 years? Too busy to respond to a single text? Too busy to acknowledge your daughter got married?" I smiled coldly. "But not too busy to set up an emergency meeting when you found out I'm worth $47 million personally, plus equity in a $340 million company." The room went quiet. "We wanted to reconnect," Catherine offered weakly. "Family is important." "Is it?" "Because family wasn't important enough to attend my wedding. Family wasn't important enough to meet Marcus. Family wasn't important when I was just a computer nerd with no money." I looked at each of them. "But now that Forbes validated me, suddenly I'm worth your time." "That's not fair," James protested. "We had concerns about your choices." "My choices are why I'm successful. Your choices are why you're drowning in debt and barely keeping up appearances." My father's face reddened. "We're doing fine. You're $340,000 in debt, not counting your mortgage. Your cars are leased. Catherine's husband lost his job 4 months ago, but you're all pretending everything's fine. James, your consulting business made $23,000 last year. And you too." I looked at my parents. "Are 3 months behind on property taxes and 6 weeks away from having your country club membership revoked for non-payment." "How do you know?" Mom started. "Because I'm good at what I do. Research, data analysis, seeing patterns others miss. It's why I'm successful." I pulled out my folder, which brings me to why I'm really here. I laid the documents on their coffee table, the coffee table I technically owned. "This is the mortgage for this property. The one you defaulted on 2 years ago. The one that was bought by an investment company to prevent foreclosure." Dad grabbed the papers. "What is this?" "That investment company is mine, Davidson Holdings LLC. I've owned your mortgage for 18 months. You've been paying rent to your daughter. The daughter who wasn't worth showing up for." The color drained from my mother's face. "No, that's not possible. It's all documented. When you defaulted, the bank bundled your mortgage with others and sold it at a loss. I bought the bundle, refinanced the other properties, and kept this one. Because even after you abandoned me at my wedding, I couldn't stand the thought of you being homeless." "Rachel, sweetheart," Dad tried. Don't sweetheart me now. For 18 months, I could have evicted you. Could have foreclosed. Could have done exactly what you deserved. But I didn't. Because I kept hoping you'd prove me wrong, that you'd reach out because you missed me, not because you wanted something." "We do miss you," Catherine said, crying now. "You miss having access to someone successful. There's a difference." I pulled out another document. "This is a notice of lease termination. You have 60 days to vacate the property." "You're evicting us?" Mom's voice was barely audible. "I'm taking back my property. I'm selling it. Should get about $2 million based on the current market value. I'll clear about $600,000 profit after costs." "Where are we supposed to go?" James asked. "I don't know. Figure it out, like I had to figure out my wedding without my family. Figure it out like I figured out how to build a company without your support. Figure it out like Marcus and I figured out our entire lives while you pretended we didn't exist." "Rachel, please," my father's voice cracked. "We made a mistake. We were wrong about Marcus, wrong about your career." "You weren't wrong. You were cruel. There's a difference. Being wrong is an accident. What you did was deliberate. You chose your pride over your daughter." My mother stood up. "We're still your parents. Biologically, yes, but parents show up. Parents support their children. Parents don't abandon them on their wedding day and then come running back when they're profitable. I nodded to my security team. Gentlemen, could you escort my family out of this property, please? What? Dad looked confused. This is our home. No, sir. This is Ms. Morrison's property. She's asked you to leave. The lead security guard was professional but firm. Please gather only essential items. You'll have access tomorrow with proper supervision to collect your belongings. You can't do this, James shouted. This is insane. This is consequences. I stayed seated while my family was ushered toward the door. You taught me that image matters more than love, that money matters more than family, that people are only valuable if they meet your standards. Well, congratulations, I learned the lesson. My mother turned at the door, mascara running down her face. We're your family. How can you do this to us? How could you skip my wedding? I countered. How could you ignore me for 2 years? How could you only care when Forbes told you to? They had no answer. I watched security escort them out, my father protesting, my mother crying, my siblings in shock. Then I sat alone in the house I owned, surrounded by their expensive furniture that they'd now have to move, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge high, just emptiness. My phone buzzed. Marcus, how did it go? I called him instead of texting. They're gone. Security escorted them out. How do you feel? Numb. I thought I'd feel vindicated or powerful or something. Instead, I just feel sad. Come home, Rach. Your real home, with me. I'm coming, but Marcus, I need you to do something for me tomorrow. Anything. Call a real estate agent. I want to sell this house as fast as possible. I don't want to own it anymore. It just reminds me of what I lost. Your family? No. My illusions about them. That's harder to lose than the people themselves. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and 89 text messages. My parents begging for another chance. Catherine apologizing. James offering to work things out. Extended family I hadn't heard from in years, all weighing in with opinions. I deleted them all without reading most of them. Instead, I called my real estate agent. List the property at $1.95 million. Price it to move fast. I want it sold within 30 days. That's aggressive pricing. We could get more if we wait. I don't want to wait. I want it gone. It sold in 12 days. Full price, cash offer, quick close. I cleared a $627,000 profit. I donated it to a scholarship fund for students from low-income families pursuing STEM degrees. The announcement made the local news. My parents saw it. They called again. This time, I answered. How could you give away that money? My father demanded. That was a fortune. I have a fortune. I don't need money I made from my family's financial desperation. That felt dirty. So I gave it to kids who remind me of who I used to be, smart, ambitious, and unappreciated by the people who should have supported them most. We want to apologize, Mom said, her voice desperate. Really apologize. We were terrible parents. Yes, you were. Can we try again? Start over? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, I said honestly. You didn't just skip my wedding. You ignored me for 2 years. You only came back when I had something you wanted. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. We can change, maybe, but proving that takes time. It takes showing up when there's nothing in it for you. It takes caring about me when I'm not in Forbes. We'll do anything, Dad said. Then prove it. Marcus and I are having dinner next Sunday, 6 p.m. casual. Our apartment. If you show up, really show up, to know us and spend time with us and not to ask for anything, then maybe we can start talking. But if you come with expectations or agendas or anything other than genuine interest in our lives, don't bother. We'll be there, Mom promised. We'll see. Sunday came. Marcus and I set the table for 4, just in case. 6 o'clock passed, then 6:15, then 6:30. They're not coming, I said, trying to hide my disappointment. Marcus squeezed my hand. Then we have more lasagne for leftovers. At 6:47, the doorbell rang. My parents stood there, empty-handed, looking nervous. We're late, Dad said. Traffic was. You're here, I interrupted. That's what matters. We had dinner. It was awkward, stilted. My parents asked about my work, and I could tell they didn't understand half of it, but they tried. They asked about Marcus's teaching. They looked at our wedding photos finally. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a magical reconciliation, but it was honest. And maybe that was enough for now. Thank you for coming, I said as they left. Thank you for giving us another chance, Mom replied. I didn't say you're welcome because they hadn't earned that yet. But I didn't close the door on them either. Because maybe some families are worth the long, hard work of rebuilding. Even if it means starting from ruins.